Now, for as long as I can remember, there's been one Xerjoff fragrance that I've always considered to be my favorite, but that's when I initially tried it back in like 2011. Of course, a lot has happened in the past 11 to 12 years, and the brand has released so many fragrances. The fragrance that I'm talking about, of course, is Nio. Is this still my favorite Xerjoff fragrance? Is this the best that the brand has to offer? I'm excited to give you my thoughts on this fragrance, so make sure to stay tuned. Before I begin my fragrance review of Xerjoff Nio and I tell you all about this fragrance, if I still think it's my favorite, why I personally love this one so much, and if I think there's been good competition in terms of other fragrance releases from the brand, I do want to start things off by mentioning that if you are a fan of fragrance related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I do upload future videos, new releases, giveaways, top 10s, all that good stuff. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you take something of value from today's review. I also want to mention that I was looking online and perfumeonline.ca actually currently has this for a really good price. So I'm going to leave links down below to where you can check it out. They're not affiliate links. I don't make any money off of you purchasing through those links. I just wanted to make you aware of the price that I found recently. So with that being said, my initial loves from the brand were Nio, Kobe, Uden, Alkat, Mamluk, you know, a combination of the shooting stars and the oud stars, and of course More Than Words came out and I fell in love with More Than Words and I purchased all of them, right? And so Nio is a fragrance that I've always been coming back to. Now, in terms of some of their fresher offerings, there's 40 Knots, there's Torino 21. There's so many fragrances that would fit within that fresh vibe. And of course, Renaissance is one of my favorites. 1861. Is Nio in the #1 spot still? Well, I'm going to be letting you know what I think in terms of the smell and my personal opinion on the fragrance. But let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation. So first things first, this fragrance is inspired by a Siberian meteor shower, which is really cool. And this was always like one of the most photorealistic citrus fragrances to me. There's bergamot in there, there's Tunisian neroli, a little bit of what the website says rose pepper, which I'm thinking is pink pepper. And there's also a lot of green notes. So there's Haitian vetiver in the base, and there's also a really nice amount of cardamom and nutmeg. So it's a little bit spicy. There's this green leaves accord. So it's citrusy, but it's very green at the same time. And it has a little bit of a spicy kick, but it still retains its freshness all the way through. So what are you going to get from this fragrance as soon as you spray it on? You're going to get this very bright, fresh, spicy, green, and citrusy opening. And when I think of neroli, I think of fragrances like 4711, Neroli Portofino by Tom Ford, and I don't get a whole lot of neroli. I think it's really more bergamot than neroli. So I'm probably getting like 60% bergamot, 40% neroli. So it kind of has that citrus ingredient in the opening that's a little bit on the nondescript side of things, but it smells so natural. So it opens up with this really like life-giving, breathtaking, you know, citrus introduction that is just so vivid and so animated. And it's so lively and natural smelling. And I love it, right? So that is one of the selling points for this fragrance, just how bright, citrusy, clean, and green it smells. It really feels like you're out in nature, but there's this overwhelming sense of cleanliness, if that makes sense. Now, in terms of the spices utilized here, I feel like I'm getting the cardamom. Now, it's not very strong, and it is just kind of serving as an accent piece in this fragrance. And in terms of like that green leaves accord, I'm not entirely sure what's in there. You know I've smelled like tomato leaf in fragrances. If you think about like Un Jardin sur le Nil by Hermes, very natural, green, leafy. It kind of smells like you're standing in the middle of a garden, right? With like lush foliage surrounding you. And you have a little bit of that sensation happening here. But then in the base, of course, you have a combination of different woods, the cedar wood, the guaiac wood, but it's really the vetiver that's in here that's giving off this clean, grassy, and earthy texture, right? There are no rough edges. There's nothing rough and tumble or dark and aggressive about this fragrance. It's squeaky clean all the way through with that very bright and organic smelling citrus in the opening, which is one of my favorite things in the world with this fragrance. I gotta be honest with you. So it has this amazing opening, much fresher than Uden, much fresher than Uden Overdose, much fresher, believe it or not, than Torino, or Torino 21, excuse me. So here we are dealing with a very bright citrusy fragrance. Now, here's the thing with Torino 21 and also 1861 Renaissance, these fragrances also have mint in them, which is a very bright ingredient. And when you couple it with citrus, you have a little bit of like a mojito vibe. But in my personal opinion, there's just something about the citrus alone that makes it smell not gimmicky, and I'm not suggesting that those other fragrances are gimmicky, although I've smelled some from some other brands that I wasn't particularly a fan of, but there's just something about the citrus, the bergamot, the neroli, and that vetiver that just smells so abundant, so natural, and so giving, like so beneficent. It's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Now, is this still my favorite from Xerjoff? If we're talking Shooting Stars collection, yeah, I think it is. If we're talking about, you know, fragrances from the Join the Club collection, I love More Than Words, right? That's definitely my favorite. From the Oud Stars collection, I mean, you know, Alexandria too is amazing. So it's always hard to pick a favorite from the brand, but in terms of their freshest offering, as much as Torino 21 has to offer, Renaissance has to offer, I still think this is the freshest. This is personally my favorite from this collection. And if you have not tried this and you've tried a number of other Xerjoff fragrances, you got to go back to this one because this is exceptionally well done. I happen to be a huge fan of it, and I'm going to continue to wear this one, especially now as the weather starts to get a little bit warmer out. Happy spring, everybody. This is a beautiful fragrance. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, sure, there are a lot of other neroli fragrances, cedarwood fragrances, what have you, but it's a combination of all of the ingredients that makes this one so unique. And the overall smell, I've gotten compliments with this fragrance. My wife loves this one. I love wearing it, and it's not even just one of my favorites from the brand, it's one of my favorites of all time, period, right? There's just so many incredible fragrances out there, and this is definitely in my top 20 of all time. And I say that, you know, knowing that I have over 2,000 fragrances in my collection. So to be in the top 20, I think says a lot, which, by the way, I think I might work on that list soon. I know it's going to take me a long time, but it's something I would definitely love to do. Longevity on this one is 7 hours. Projection is great for the first hour to hour and a half when that citrus is really loud and jumping off your skin. It does get kind of quiet right around that 5.5 hour mark. In terms of the versatility, hotter weather is really when it's going to shine. It's both formal and casual. I think the cardamom bergamot combination gives it a bit of a refined quality with that cedar wood in the base, that vetiver. Very classy, very professional, but also very clean smelling with that well-groomed quality about it. Perfectly unisex in my opinion, and I can see anybody of any age wearing this one too. And even though a lot of other neroli dominant fragrances lean casual, there's still a very classy, refined quality about this one. And even just, you know, going back to the quality of the raw materials is very, very high given the MSRP of the fragrance, and that kind of aligns with the quality of the raw materials. Presentation on this one is phenomenal. My final verdict on this fragrance, one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Amazing fragrance if you're a fan of Xerjoff, and if you're looking for some of the fresher offerings from the brand, please prioritize this one. This is an amazing fragrance to check out. Once again, you may find this at perfumeonline.ca for an amazing price. Links are going to be down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit the bell, give it a thumbs up. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.